Strong Pokémon, weak Pokémon. That is only the selfish perception of people. Truly skilled trainers should try to win with their favorites. Probably one of the most infamous quotes in all of Pokemon. Now at its core it isn't a bad thing, it's honestly great. This boils down a lot of the main themes of Pokemon into a few lines of text, though in recent years it has sparked many debates about Pokemon as a whole. I'm sort of skipping over some of the harsher criticisms and fights that actually occur in the comment sections and Twitter threads, but it usually comes down to, actually the stats don't lie. Yeah sure, how am I gonna win with a Wooper? This is what makes competitive Pokemon so terrible. Competitive players don't seem to understand this. I'm like, man, I'm just tired. I hate that Pokemon posted this quote on Twitter over the weekend, but let me talk about it for a bit from my perspective at least. For one thing, in Pokemon VGC, yeah, a lot of Pokemon will be used by many people because they're just good, but there are always non-meta Pokemon that will pop up and be used to great success by skilled players. And even amongst the more popular Pokemon, it isn't always the exact same few, there are often a rotation of them that come into use. Of course, there's no true way for every single Pokemon to be viable in some way competitively, but I honestly think it isn't that hard to come to peace with the fact that, yeah, some Pokemon are just better than others. That's how things go. In terms of gameplay, the evolution mechanic is built to create a sense of progression through the story. You have weaker Pokemon at the start of the game, and then by the end, you'll have a stronger team. Also, being limited to 6 Pokemon is a great way for the player to determine which Pokemon they want to bring with them. The choice of using the stronger one or your favorite one is literally a part of the mechanic because it adds a level of customization. And going back to competitive, I've got to be honest, as someone who plays Yu-Gi-Oh, it isn't all that worth getting upset at. Like, yeah, there are decks that are just factually better than others and you can try to stick with your favorites, but it's alright to acknowledge a deck that you like isn't going to win any big tournament. Though at the same time, it's kind of funny when a deck does come out that speaks to me personally and I really love the gameplay, the style, the lore, and it turns out it's actually just really good. So when I tell people that this is one of my favorite decks, I get weird looks from other casual players. Playing Pokemon and other games like it does take skill and you can totally use whatever Pokemon you want, but we need to acknowledge that these are bundles of code made out of numbers, the bigger number usually wins. Though to play devil's advocate a bit on the points I just made, yeah, there are definitely people who can suck the fun out of anything. I've seen YouTubers, players, and general fans who walk into a game of Pokemon and treat it without the slightest bit of whimsy. Everything has to be serious and goofy things are bad and don't make any sense. Not just when it comes to VGC or Nuzlocke and challenges, but things like a game's story or the anime. Like, it's also okay to acknowledge that Pokemon is a game made for kids and it can be funny. That's honestly one of my favorite things about the franchise is that you can literally just do whatever you want. You can use your favorites or you can use the best. Just don't get upset when you see someone else doing the opposite. But the funniest thing about the whole situation is that this quote has nothing to do with actually playing the game. It isn't a tutorial, a fourth wall break, or even extremely deep commentary. These are the thoughts of one character in the game that are meant as a thematic counter to one of the other characters we met earlier. Silver is the rival of Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal, and he's like a terrible person for most of the game. During one of the early encounters, he literally says that he only cares about strong Pokemon and doesn't care about weak Pokemon. After going through most of the game and defeating him in every battle, basically proving him wrong, we finally reach the Pokemon League and Karen basically validates a player and the protagonist, saying that they'd done a great job carving their own path with the Pokemon that they chose. And then after becoming the champion, the interactions you have with Silver change quite a bit. He still wants a battle, but he stopped using words like strong and weak. He simply wants to get better and says that he's been spending a lot of his time thinking. These are all elements of a story that take place over the course of the game and you actually have to read and understand. Personally, I've been able to enjoy Pokemon a lot more in the past few years as I've tried to play more often than usual, play in different ways with different themes, and expand beyond just the main series. While I don't play VGC or Showdown or anything really like it, I've really gotten into the trading card game and have had some interesting experiences. I don't care all that much about Giratina, Comfey, or Cramorant, but I love the Lost Zone deck for the gameplay and also the fact that it's actually pretty good. And I will acknowledge that one of my favorite Pokemon does actually appear in it, that being Sableye. But for the most part, when it comes to like the core of the deck, I was never the biggest fan of Comfey, but I mean it's really important in this deck, so I love it here. And more recently, I've been able to move on to playing a Feraligatr deck because right now it's actually pretty decent. And in case it wasn't obvious, Totodile and Feraligatr are my favorite Pokemon. So what I'm saying is the more that you experience Pokemon, your favorites will either become more relevant, and you might end up using Pokemon that aren't your favorites, just using them on the basis that they're actually good. And again, this is more of a personal thing, but the more I try to expand my horizons and experience everything I can in Pokemon, basically any Pokemon becomes my favorite to a degree. That's just the way it is with these kind of games. It's really fun to sweep somebody's entire team with a Magikarp. It's really fun to prove that you're the better player using the same Pokemon. Both of these can be true at the same time. Well, those are just some of my thoughts when it comes to using your favorite Pokemon, and a bit about that stupid quote. I don't think it's a bad quote or anything, a great moment from Generation 2, but I am not a fan of the damage that it's helped facilitate over the years. Ultimately, it comes down to modern social media discourse being nothing but an evolution of thing I like is better than thing you like, so what can you do except just enjoy the things that you like in your own time, whether that be winning big tournaments or playing with adorable Skrunkos. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, but more importantly, let's take the time to chat about our favorite Pokemon and some of the fun moments we've had in playthroughs or battles. Anyway, I've got my favorite Pokemon all lined up, so let's get this battle started. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, including the Great Gators, Era's Away, ELR27, DeAndre, Zanaido, Jamarcus Nixon, Frix, Boss Dragon, Justin Dowes, Ben's Quizm, Mazhar Siddiqui, Cemetery Hill, Pastel Blood, Cosmo Zero, Mr. Saturn, Rainfrux, Cheez-It62, Alex Switch, Shiny Hunter, Michael Snyder, Lockadox, GatorKid509, TF, Mathiclong947, Taijirai, Justin R, Phantom, and Quago. If you would like to support, see your name here, get access to emotes for comments, live streams, and sometimes early videos, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter as well for more memes. Anyway, this is GatorX, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later.
There's a hard way to see water Pokemon, and there's an easy way. By watching a full week special water event, Pokemon Master Water Quest Week, this Monday through Friday at 4, only on Kids WB.